Hello and welcome to this special SpecSports podcast. I'm Sam Brennan, and today we're going to be talking a little bit of Arizona high school playoff baseball. Well, the play-in games are complete, the first round is complete, and now we get into the double elimination portion of the bracket, which has its pros and cons. One of the pros, you get an extra life in the tournament. If you lose, you have another shot at redemption. Now the competition is that much tougher. We are down to 8 teams left in the 6A bracket, and they are there for a reason. Now, we will go over the second round matchups, but first let's take a look at some of the games and surprises that happened getting here. Now, at SpecSports, we put a bit of emphasis on the 6A division, the top division in high school baseball in Arizona. The East Valley region, which is home to the Mesa Public Schools School District high schools of Westwood, Dobson, Red Mountain, Skyline, and Mesa, and also Mountain View. Now, the 6A East Valley region has 4 of their 6 teams in the playoffs, and it is rightfully so. So let's start with those teams. First, we have Skyline and Westwood. They were both forced to play play-in games to make it into the main playoff bracket. Skyline was set as the number 13 seed, and they took on number 20 Desert Ridge. This game did have a little bit more meaning than just a chance to make the playoffs. The two schools, they used to be bitter rivals, but since the schedules have kind of changed up and the fire in that rivalry has definitely dissipated. But also, Skyline's head coach right now, Pat Herrera, he used to be a coach at Desert Ridge, so there's no doubt he wanted to beat his former team. Skyline, they took Desert Ridge pretty easily. The score was 11-3, and they were led by a strong performance on the mound and offensively by their senior Cole Yoakum. Now, as for Westwood, this game was a little bit more interesting. The Warriors were number 21 seed. They had to take a 3-hour drive to San Luis, Arizona, where they were slated to take on the number 12 seed San Luis Sidewinders. That game went to 10 innings. The score was tied 3-3 during the 10th. Now, most of these high schools, they don't have lights on their fields. So most of the games start around 4 p.m., so there isn't usually a need for them anyway. But this game, it took so long, it actually got called for darkness. The umpire said, hey, it's too dark, we won't be able to see the ball, there's no lights, we're going to have to resume this game later on. So the Westwood team, 3 hours from home, had to stay the night in San Luis. They weren't prepared for this at all. They didn't plan on staying the night. So this gave the San Luis players a big advantage because they could just go home. They were the home team. Westwood, they had to shack up in a hotel. They didn't have provisions or clothing to stay the night. Like I said, they didn't plan on this. So what did Westwood do? The next day, after staying the night in the hotel in San Luis, they put up 4 runs in the top of the 11th. It was the first inning played that next day, and they came away with a 7-3 upset win. How about that for overcoming adversity? Staying overnight after not having planned that, and then they take the win over the favored team. So now you have Westwood and Skyline. They join the East Valley region schools Red Mountain and Mountain View, who already had spots in the main bracket. So how about that? 4 of the 6 teams in the East Valley region made the main bracket. Half of the playoff field at this point is East Valley region schools. There are 8 teams left in the playoffs. 4 of them are from the East Valley region. Sticking with Westwood, the Warriors were set up to play the number 2 seed Corona del Sol. Corona had won 12 straight games coming into this playoff matchup with Westwood. The Warriors were not fazed, however. Westwood would pull off another upset with its 4-2 victory. This Westwood team is playing its best baseball when it matters most. Coach Langston has his team focused and dialed in on the playoffs. They were able to beat the number 2 seed, the 15 seed, beating the number 2 seed. That is what's so great about this playoff baseball format in high school. So they're going to be the underdog once again as they take on Sandra Day O'Connor on Tuesday for another tough competition. Now let's take a look at the best team in the East Valley region and the number 1 team in the tournament, Mountain View. Mountain View was the top-ranked team in 6A this season with a 16-2 record. The Toros, coming in as the number 1 seed, were faced with the 16 seed Millennium Tigers, where Mountain View squeaked by with the 5-4 victory. Mountain View is carried not only over that game, but the whole season by their outstanding pitching. Sean Rimmer has a 1.12 ERA, and that is ranked 7th best in 6A division. His teammate, John Neely, he's ranked number 8 in the 6A with a 1.28 ERA. Mountain View will face the number 8 seed Hamilton in the second round. Now, this will be a tough game for the Toros, as Hamilton has showed a lot of success in the playoffs over the past few years. They won a state championship not too long ago. Another one of the East Valley teams is Red Mountain. They come in as the number 4 seed in the playoffs, and they took care of the 13th seeded Mountain Point with an 8-1 victory. Red Mountain will take on the number 5 seed of Mountain Ridge in its round 2 game. Finally, you have Skyline, the Skyline Coyotes. They come in after the play-in as the number 11 seed in the tournament. They had to take on a higher seed, and they were the underdog, but Skyline upset the number 6 ranked Chandler in the first round by a score of 8-3. Now, this game went down to the wire, was tied 3-3, and went to extra innings. In the top of the 8th, the hero was Cole Yoakum as he hit a 3-run bomb. Now, that was only part of the 5-run inning for the Coyotes, and Chandler was not able to answer, so Skyline came away with that victory. The Coyotes will be taking on another underdog in Brophy in their next round game. The Brophy Broncos knocked off the number 3 seed Basha. This matchup is going down Tuesday at 4 p.m. at Hohokam Stadium in Mesa. I highly recommend checking that out. There's also 2 playoff games at Tempe Diablo Stadium and another playoff game after the Skyline game at 6:30 at Hohokam. Well, that's all I have for you today. Hopefully you guys are now well in tune with the Arizona 6A Division High School Baseball Playoffs. I'm Sam Brennan. Thank you for tuning in. This is Spec Sports.